What's up guys, DukeSloth here, and today we're reviewing the patch notes for patch 5.19, the release patch of Hera. We'll mostly focus on Hera here because that is what this patch is mostly about. There are some small changes that we'll obviously look into and some new skins, but the main point is definitely Hera. So let's start with Hera right away. Hera, Queen of the Gods. Her first ability, or rather her passive, is Commanding Presence. Each time Hera deals damage to gods while Argus is inactive, Argus cooldown is reduced. While Argus is active, each time Hera deals damage to gods, Argus is healed for a flat amount, scaling based on Hera's level. So the cooldown per hit is 1 second, and this includes AoE abilities hitting multiple targets, and it includes multiple instances of damage from one ability apparently. So the first ability, which we'll talk about in a second, has 2 connecting hits, kind of like Terra Stones, and if both of these hits connect, that's a 2-second reduction, not 1 second reduction. And likewise, if you hit 2 targets with that, it's also double the reduction. And on top of that, you have this Argus heal of 20 plus 5 per level. We'll talk a bit about Argus later, obviously, but his passive in itself purely revolves around Argus, which is interesting because you won't have Argus all the time. Most gods have passives that benefit them at most times somehow. And this is a more conditional one. But it makes sense in the context of wanting for Argus to be out as much as possible. But then at the same time, you have to be able to reduce the passive sufficiently. So you have to play really aggressive if you want Argus up often. You have to constantly poke, basically, to lower the cooldown. Your first ability is Royal Assault. Hera damages enemy in a cone in front of her before opening a portal for Argus to attack through. Enemy minions hit by this cone are knocked into Argus' path. Argus then slams his fist at the target location, dealing heavy damage. If both his fists connect with an enemy, it deals 15% extra damage. So this ability is very hard to describe. You're better off seeing it. It has a 45 unit range, but even that is a little bit misleading. The targeter for this ability is basically, again, like Terra's walls. So you have 2 walls that, or fists in this case, that clap together. You can walk through the fist though, different from the Terra wall. And that can be placed at any distance to you. But in front of you is this cone area, or I think it's more of a half circle really, in which you will also deal a separate instance of damage. This is not a lot of damage, you can see this here. This cone damage is only 30 to 70 plus 15% of your magical power. So, just a little bit. But what it does, it knocks minions back. It doesn't knock guards back, but minions. And that means you knock them exactly where those fists clap together or smash together every single time. They land exactly there, so they get hit by that. So it's automatic. You don't need to aim it further than that. And the fists then deal the real damage, so 75 to 255 plus 75% of your magical power. And they can also deal 15% extra damage if you hit the second one. This whole thing has a 10-second cooldown, which is pretty short, and a pretty low mana cost of 55 to 75. Now, this is obviously her main clear, because what you're going to do is you're going to push back the big minions and push them, or the melee minions, into the archers, and then you hit them all together. And you can do that every 10 seconds. And that, especially with cooldown reduction being pretty accessible early in the game right now as well, should be making for an interesting laning phase against Hera, because I think she's going to have a lot of pressure through this. The question is really how the damage feels. 75% scaling is not insane, and the additional 15% is something you will rarely get against gods, at least. It's more against minions, but unless somebody's running into your face, you're probably working more with the fists smashing together, and they also have a fair bit of a delay, so it's not super easy to dodge them either. And with that being her main source of damage, it's going to be interesting. But like I said, also very short cooldown. But this is the ability you're going to see the most for sure. And that's also, it's already interesting because this doesn't have anything with it. It doesn't have any slow, it doesn't have any other CC. The CC is instead in her 2. Her 2 is Polymorph. Hera weaves magic in front of her before sending it out. Enemies hit by this ability take damage. If this ability hits a god, it causes their form to shift into a monster. Monster meaning a jungle creep. You're not actually going to turn into a sheep, you're going to turn into a harpy, into one of the lions, manticore kind of thing, or whatever, depending on which map you're on as well. It's always the monsters from the map. And the ability affects all enemies, obviously. It's a line ability. 80 unit range, so decently long. And 60 to 240 damage, plus 75% scaling. Again, not the highest scaling here, but also not bad. And then the polymorph duration goes from 1.2 seconds to 2 seconds at max rank. Cooldown 14 seconds, cost 60 seconds. Now this is, I think, a really interesting ability. First of all, this also has a delay, and this one is even more telegraphed, I would say, because Hera kind of swings around herself first and then charges up the ability. And that way you already have, you know, this whole prediction of that she is going to use it. And she can also re-aim it like while casting it. So with the projectile being rather slow, it's probably not the hardest to avoid unless you're at very close range where she can just like follow you with her aim. 2 seconds of polymorph, it's definitely not short. And just can actually theoretically hit multiple targets if they're in a line, because it still passes through guards as well. It can also be used for clear, obviously. A little bit of a weaker clear in terms of damage than her one, but also a little bit safer as you can just throw it from any distance. And what really sets it apart otherwise is the longer cooldown of 14 seconds, but the consistent mana cost of 60. So both has its benefits here, really. I think I would obviously prefer the one for clear in most situations, as it is significantly more damage with the cone damage. But at the same time, if you want to play it safe and you feel like you're getting aggressed on a lot, then having that polymorph on 2 seconds is also pretty strong. A third ability is just weird. It's weird because it's so simple. Hera shrouds herself, a divine shroud. Hera shrouds herself in divine power, granting her a shield from damage and temporary movement speed that lasts as long as the shield remains. If Argus is active, Argus shines with the same divine power as Hera, causing him to deal radiant damage and move at an increased rate. So for herself, and if Argus is not out, this is simply a shield with 50 plus 50 up to 250 health, plus 15 per Hera's level. 5-second shield duration. That's it. That's all there is to it for her, and a little bit of movement speed. 15% movement speed. 15%, yeah, it's nice. It's not crazy. And a flat shield, you know, it's not what you expect on a mage. That's all I'm saying here. It's like, it's probably not even worth leveling up much for the shield alone, because it scales up with the levels anyways. On level 10, it's already on 200 health either way. But yeah, I think the 1 and 2 is what you want to level first. Now then you have Argus. Argus gets the buff if he's out, if he's in his pet mode basically. He gets an aura damage of 7 to 23 plus 7.5% of your magical power. And the ticks for this looked relatively fast. I think this is 0.5 seconds tick and not 1 second tick from what I could tell from what it looked like when they showed off in game. And he also gets a 50% movement speed increase. So he's going to be very, very fast. He's going to run down enemies while having a little bit of extra aura damage, which obviously helps in a team fight a lot. And then it also has a 16-second cooldown and mana cost from 45 to 65. Pretty long cooldown compared to the rest. And last but not least, there's Argus. Argus the Defender. Hera brings Argus crashing down at a location, damaging and knocking up enemies. On landing, Argus will attack the nearest target. Hera can control where Argus moves through refiring this ability onto an enemy, or if he has a target to recall him. While recalled, Argus will defend Hera and attack anyone that gets close. Argus has a hit chain that starts with a normal basic attack into a ground circle AoE, slowing enemies by 20% for 1 second into a line attack. So the second attack basically sets up the third attack, and only if the second attack connects, he will channel the third attack, as far as I understand it. So this ability itself is AoE. It's a decent amount of knock-up damage here. 20 unit radius for the knockup and the AoE damage itself, up to 300 damage and 35% magical power. Obviously not close to other gods' ultimates that deal a lot more damage when it comes to mages, but the point of this ability is not to deal massive damage with the ult alone, but rather have Argus deal the damage. Argus then remains for 40 seconds. His initial hit will deal 40 damage plus 30% of your magical power. Second hit also 40 damage plus 30% of your magical power. And his third hit will deal 60 damage plus 40% of your magical power. His cooldown is 70 seconds, and mana cost scale from 80 to 100. Looking at these stats and looking how his damage doesn't scale up directly, I don't think it's worth putting any point into this. Like, you get a little bit more damage on the initial landing, but it's really low damage compared to the rest of her abilities, basically. And, or except the shield, maybe. And then the mana cost goes up as well. So, as you want to spend this as much as possible, I don't really see much of a use for this. And it's interesting. So, as far as I understand it, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case. The cooldown only starts once he despawns, because otherwise you could basically reduce it to almost 0, so that wouldn't really make sense. And then obviously with cooldown reduction, you can take 40% off it, so say roughly 30 seconds, which brings it to around 40-ish seconds, and 42 seconds, I think, to be precise. And then you can reduce that cooldown further through abilities. So if you hit like, let's say like 5 abilities and a few double procs, and maybe you get like another 8 seconds off or something, and then you're like closer to 30-second cooldown, which really isn't too bad if you're able to like keep on aggressing and spamming. And basic attacks obviously reduce it as well, so that helps. But the main question with Hera really for me is if her kit is strong enough to compete with other kits. As I can see it right now, her 1 will be good clear, very good clear, no doubt about that. Her 2 will be good CC but hard to land, and even her 1 will be hard to land damage against enemies. Argus is a nice pet, but doesn't seem that ult-worthy. Like, just looking at Calder in comparison, for example, with this initial dash onto you that already does a very decent amount of scaling and stuff like that. You have to have a lot of magical power for Argus to really start rolling, I think. I mean, if you have your, whatever, 700 power, then what is going to be like? It's like 210 plus 40 per basic, 250 per basic. That, at that point, before mitigations, it would hurt, but even after mitigations, it's not that crazy. And given that he's still a pet, you should be able to get him off you. The bigger problem with Argus is probably that, unlike Calder, he's going to be really hard to kill. So a lot of how Hera performs really comes down to how much you can stay away from Argus, or how much he's just going to be an unstoppable force beating down on you until you're dead. Because if he's going to be that, Hera's going to need hard nerfs. She's going to be very frustrating to play against. And it's just going to be annoying, because it's much more than Skadi going to feel like the pet is doing all the work and Hera's not doing anything, especially because he also gets an AoE ability on top of that. At the same time, if that's not the case, I'm not quite sure how Hera is going to live up to other gods, just from the numbers we see so far and from the stats he have. I'm going to test it out in a game, and we'll see what it actually feels like as soon as we have PTS. But we also have a lot of other stuff here. We have the God skin card. This is the default card, which many of you have probably seen already. This is the recolor, which is really cool in my opinion. You can see the black version of Argus here as well. He has the different colorings in the recolor, but also in the golden skins, etc. So really, really cool there. And that brings us to the other skins as well. We have the Shonen Spark Mercury, which is basically anime Mercury. Nice electric effects, but honestly, just another modern day Mercury with an anime haircut to me. But yeah, whatever. I guess he's popular right now. Then we have Cutting Edge Uller, aka Destiny Uller. He's got some pretty cool stance swap effects. Gotta give him that. So that's nice, but didn't know Uller needs another skin. Then we have Odin Omnitech, which is another mech skin, and I don't have anything to say about it. It's just another mech skin, which actually copies the effects from the Uller skin. Then we have Scylla Godzilla. And with this one, I gotta say I misjudged. I underrated him. This time I'm gonna show it. I didn't show it on the patch notes. But there's the Apollo from the Racer, SMITE Racer. SMITE cart in the corner. Ghost Cupid up here, and Izanami Creepy Doll here. And Ragnar, all of them are here. So this is a community concept skin, which this concept won. And this Godzilla skin comes with a lot of cool stuff when it comes to animations. So all of these puppets are her dogs, basically. And when you get wrapped in her one, these puppets will like slap you like this, which already looks pretty funny. And then she has these this carpet effect with various abilities. With her one, with her two, especially with her two, but also with her special emote, which she walks around and gets attacked by mini paper helicopters, where it's like a carpet that is a city. I don't know how to call those. I have no idea what they actually call it. It's like the kind of carpet which is mostly green, and then small houses in between where you can drive around with your toy cars that every kid used to have. And it's so fascinating to me. It's literally a throwback to me. Like I used to have one of those as a kid, and like a small one, and it was like seeing that I was like, okay, I'm sold on the skin. And there were also some pretty cool effects in the Ultimate, where this whole like paper town around basically that she destroys and everything, and the whole voice pack and everything goes in line with it. So I think I give this one a pass, even though it's another cutesy kind of Scylla skin. I think this one is actually pretty cool. And then we're getting to the one that I love the most this patch, and that's the Bacchus Spirit skin. Very much themed like the Approach skin, similar voice pack as well. This creepy kind of mask guy with a lot of shadowy effects. The blades actually are this way during his 3. He also gets a shadow trail, a smoke trail when he jumps, and his minions look different and all that. So that's the one I've been waiting for. Bacchus really didn't have a good skin in a long time, or didn't have a skin in a long time to begin with. And this may be the first skin that actually replaces Rage Bacchus for me for a while, at least. So that's pretty cool. And then we have Hera in her golden version. And we can kind of see in the background here that Argus, again, also has different colors with the blue and gold here. So he always changes with her. And with that, we can quickly go through the voice packs. If you're on your headphones, make sure to turn them down, because it could be loud.
I'm getting antsy. Let's find some action.
Spies like me, we hack, but we also make a killing. Figuratively and literally.
There is nothing to fear. We are the superior force, and we will show them our might.
I will trample your town and eat all the radiation one num-num at a time!
Hunting the living is so much fun! Ready to play.
Fear not, my loyal subjects. Your queen has arrived.
The Yas Queen puns, I'm going to leave those out, but she's using those as well. Which makes me think, by the way, I was seeing this Omnitech. If they went more with the tech skins, if they went more in a Warhammer kind of direction, I think they could be so much cooler. Alright, but this brings us to Project Olympus. In general, muting players will now mute all audio sources coming from the player, including map pings. There's a little bit of a conversation already about that, if this includes something like abilities or other noises the guards makes as well, because then it would be really bad. I doubt that's what it's going to be, but probably just poorly worded. It's probably just VGS, taunt kind of stuff, laugh spam, and, you know, now also pings, but probably not the abilities and stuff. That would be concerning. Then we have console UI updates. Basically, the whole thing has been cleaned up after the last patch made it really messy. Certain things like Odyssey, Fantasy Points, Symbol Currency has been removed from the loading frames. You can now hide KDA. The option has been removed. No, the option to show KDA has been removed. And you can now show or hide mastery. Exactly, that's what it was. The options menu has been updated, and recently played players have been added. Report of friend players that after leaving the match lobby. That's basically the same thing we already have on PC. And now we can Steam Link on PC, which will be necessary in the future. It's not necessary yet, which I think has not, like Hera said, they can unlock more things for people. I think it may have something to do with the statistics as well. You can very much up the player base when everyone goes through Steam. It will tell the concurrent player numbers, and they will actually reflect the amount of players, not just the ones playing on the Steam client, because most people I know don't play on the Steam client with all the issues that it had in the past. And the queue times are also decreased. Joust 3 minutes to 2 minutes, Arena 3 minutes to 2 minutes, so that should be a lot quicker, and Rank Conquest 12 minutes to 9 minutes, which I think is a lot more manageable, even though it might just be bumped to priority queue again. We have new cosmetic items, disapproving ostrich avatar, my favorite animal, Hera announcer pack, Fantasy Point store, new additions here are Pricefighter Mercury, Idusa Medusa, and Madame Darkness Nox. And then we have a bunch of bug fixes. First of all, people getting deserter, even though they didn't leave the lobby, and they were not the ones that messed up. So that was really annoying, and I'm glad that's gone. In queue message persisted in lobby. Not quite sure what that actually means. Only it's telling you it's still in queue. Fixed an issue with the racer pedestal where the red glow from the pipes would appear rotated. Fixed the sound effects, added the sound effects to 100% global emote. Oh, all right, yeah, to the 100% global emote, and fixed lighting at Joust Order side fountain where some skins appear too bright. That's a tiny detail. And then we have a bunch of stuff on console as well for Refer a Friend. Controls, banners, HUD. Achilles Glory and Radiant Glory demo video missing for console players. Spectate issues that are fixed, and HUD fixes with the friend list, and callouts of friend in the friend list, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of fixes for console in regards to how usable the game is, I would call it. Item fixes, Hydra's Lament fix an issue with passive damage only applying to the first hit of Vamana or Bacchus ultimate basic attacks. So I'm not quite sure what this even means, because I don't know how Hydra's Lament would apply to more than one of their basic attacks. If it applied to every of their basic attacks, I think it would be kind of crazy on the ultimate. Especially, like, for Bakasura, I can see, because you can still use abilities. So you can reproc it, basically, in the ultimate. So that makes sense to me. But for Vamana, I don't... I'm pretty sure Vamana can't use anything in his ultimate that would proc Hydra's Lament again. And if he gets Hydra's Lament bonus damage for every hit of the ult for using it, then we're all dead. So I'm not quite sure what this is, or if I'm misunderstanding it, or if it's just something that they didn't really think through, or it's just something that they could technically apply it, but Vamana can't really. Who knows? Odysseus Bow fixed an issue with passive only stacking once with the Mana Bakasura and ultimate basic attacks. That, on the other hand, is, I think, more important, because that was annoying. I never knew why that was a thing. So it can now actually proc consistently on the ultimate. So basically, it's more like the ult just working like normal basic attacks now. Langshan fixed the incorrect basic attack formula on skill screen. Should have been 39 plus 2 per level, instead it was 38. Instead it's 38 plus 2 per level. Janos raised volume FX for basic attack and ability number 2 for warp tech skin. Noir fixed a very large diamond effects appearing when firing ability number 3 with Mystic and Chandra skin. Item balance, only Hunter's Garb. We don't need to talk much about this, because I recently talked so much about it and how much of a great item is this. It's now 2,100 gold instead of 1,900 gold. Still a very strong item for its price. You've seen the value just the other day in the video, so if you haven't checked that out, feel free to do so, as it really is a good item and the mitigation is really, really good anyways. But it's more of a competition with our items now, I suppose. God Balance Amaterasu has become a top pick for support role in pro play. Her aura ability that provides self-sustained movement speed and power can create big swings in the duo lane. We're taking her power aura down a notch to focus on her utility and give opponents a chance to outclear her. Divine Presence decrease power buff on Vela aura from 15 to 35 to 10 to 30. Understandable nerf, not a massive nerf. Absolutely fine with me. Like, you're not going to feel this much on a casual level. This is really just for the pros, and even with them, I'm not so sure if it really is going to matter much. Apparently, the pros were leveling the 1 first to get maximum pressure out of this extra power buff. So that won't be as much of an option. But still an option. Freya. Increase movement speed from 375 to 370. She's super strong in ranked and SPL, and now she gets a little bit of a movement speed decrease. Oh no. It's not like she builds a bunch of rings anyways. It's going to make her faster anyways, and she hits the threshold anyways, so it doesn't actually matter for her at all. So she's still going to be super strong. Mercury made you look increased cooldown from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Obviously because of Golden Bow. Also not going to drastically change him, as he usually clears one camp with Made You Look and then can clear another camp with his 2 in between anyways. I think an approach that adjusts Golden Bow to interact differently with his 1 would be a much better idea here. Samdi was unfortunately entirely forgotten, as was Athena and various other high-level gods. So they're going to be in the exact same place for the World's Games. And also this means we're not going to see nerfs to Mercury and Freya for a while now, because the next patch is not going to have any changes for gods that would affect Worlds in any way. And after that, it will be a while. So that's a bit disappointing. But oh well, that's just the meta we got to live with now. And that's it for the patch notes review. I think overall this was a curious patch. Some nice skins. I think Hera is interesting. I'm not convinced of her yet, but we'll have to find out. We have to play her first. And I wish there would have been some more drastic guard changes, even though obviously they don't want to shake up the SPL too much. I wish they would have done a little bit more before Worlds. We're gonna live with it. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and the bell. It really helps me out. Other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. I don't think PDS is going up today. DukeSloth out.